It seems like the WBO champion Brian Norman has accepted the challenge from Jin Sasaki, and he's about to get that passport tatted up, man, and take a flight to Japan. And I think this is a good fight, despite the public reception. I think people are going to disagree with it a little bit, considering we want unifications, right? But I think it's going to be a good fight, man.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
I really do. However, with that being said, I don't care if it's Jin Sasaki, you fight with Rocky, or you're a disc jockey. Norman at 5.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you'll say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? It's your boy, Dr. Boxing Talk, back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't know what time it is. The doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. As you saw in the intro, man, you know, Jin Sasaki is ready to fight Brian Norman. And I think that he's deserving of a title shot, man. He's on like an 8-fight, 9-fight win streak. He's been doing his thing. I've been talking about Jin Sasaki. I did a couple videos about it before too. Go check it out even if it does already. But Jin Sasaki took a trip to Brian Norman's last fight and his first defense against Derek Cuevas, right, of his WBO belt. And he successfully defended that, right? Stopped Derek Cuevas in a smooth fashion, you know, in the third round.
Damn. I'm sorry.
Right? So Jin Sasaki came out and was like, hey, man, I want to challenge you for a belt. And like I said, I think he deserves it. He's highly ranked. And this fight, not only does he deserve it, but it's a fight that would make sense, especially if you talk about going to foreign soil for the American fighter Brian Norman. If he fights in Japan, this will also, you know, in addition, let him get a respectable opponent. But it would also, in addition to getting a respectable opponent, excuse me, he would also boost his profile by raising his awareness and increasing his exposure in another country, you know, in Japan. So I think that this is a good move for him career wise. But naturally, people will be disappointed because Brian Norman Sr., you know, Brian Norman Jr.'s father, the champion's father, has been very vocal about fighting Boots, and it just hasn't come into fruition yet. So people are naturally going to be disappointed for any one of his opponents that's not Boots by the way that he's been talking. You know what I'm saying?
Shut up, bitch.
So even though this fight can happen and it's a good fight, people will look at it like, hold on, bro, it's not Boots. So what you doing? You sloughing out here, man. We want unifications. However, I want to report to you this as well. And those of you that's been kicking it with the channel, shout out to y'all and all the support. Appreciate it. Well, you know that Jaron Boots Ennis has some obligations to take care of as well. So that's why I'm not mad at this fight, because the WBA mandatory that he inherited after beating Ennis and Norman Jr to unify the WBA and IBF belts, you know, Shakram Giyashov is that mandatory, and he received step aside money in order for that unification to happen. So naturally he would inherit that WBA mandatory and Shakram Giyashov, and it seems like they are scheduled to fight, especially with them both being on Matchroom. You know what I'm saying? That's going to make that fight easy fight to facilitate, since they're both under the same promoter of Eddie Hearn. So you could fully expect that fight to happen next. But even if that fight doesn't happen next, you see the WBA, right? They ordered the Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia fight to suddenly be for a world title.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
The WBA world title, which is considered the regular belt, right? And that person, the winner of Rolly and Ryan Garcia, would be ordered to fight next against the winner of Jaron Boots Ennis and Shakram Giyashov. And a lot of us anticipate Boots to beat Shakram, and a lot of us anticipate Ryan to beat Rolly. So, you know, that's what they anticipate as well, and that's what it is. But we're hoping that Rolly could spoil the apple cart and get an upset. And then, you know, I want Boots to beat Shakram, but I think that's a good fight too, and let the best man win, you know. Shout out to Shakram, especially with the passing of his daughter. Big salute to him and rest in peace to his daughter, you know what I'm saying? And he just had a good defense on the undercard of Boots and Ennis. So with that being, I say all that to say that the Boots seems like he's pretty much occupied as well. And if that doesn't make if that's not good enough for you, what makes things even more interesting or worse, you know, if you want unifications like I do between Boots, Barrios, and Norman, right? Well, Turkey Al Sheikh has posted a poll on Twitter that he wants Boots to fight Teofimo. So assuming Teofimo beats Barbosa and Boots beats Shakram Giyashov again, we could potentially have that matchup as well. And you know what Turk wants, Turk gets. It seems like he's dictating everything in boxing right now. You know, they're all moving at his whim because he got the money, and they'll do anything that includes acting funny. You know what I'm saying? Do something strange for a little piece of change. You know how that goes. But yeah, so I think that Boots may be occupied with fights that aren't unifications himself, and especially to also forget him for right now. Let's talk about Barrios as well. Barrios is still in talks with guys like Manny Pacquiao coming out of retirement to fight him, or even potentially, which I think this is a rumor, of course, I don't think it's substantiated, but you know, we dropped a video on this as well, is that Errol Spence could be potentially staying at 147 and come back and possibly fight Barrios as a comeback as well. So, you know, Barrios could be pretty much occupied as well for the near future. So for the foreseeable future, all the other champions could be unified that he can unify with are pretty much occupied. So I don't mind this Brian Norman fight with Jin Sasaki. Like I said, Jin Sasaki is a good fighter, man. He's a very offense oriented fighter. But the thing with him is that, you know, while he is exciting, the caveat or the negative aspect of his fighting style is that he doesn't really have that much defense. His defense is pretty much non-existent, man. He blocks with his face. He reminds me of Jaime Munguia a lot. Not saying that they have a similar fighting style, but they're both of their game is heavily predicated off their offense, and they don't really care about defense too much. And I think that in this fight, you know, against Brian Norman, you know, Brian Norman's pretty strong. So it's going to be a matter of who gets to who first. And I think Brian Norman, I like him to be a little stronger, a little bit more accurate, and be able to take Sasaki's punches better than Norman could take. I'd like Norman to be able to take Sasaki's punches a little bit better than Sasaki could take Norman's punches. But like I said, it's a good fight, you know, so I actually like it, you know. Now, do I like it under these circumstances? Because I would prefer unifications. Okay, yeah, I like it a little less than the unifications, but there's other fights that are good, even if it's not the fight that we desire the most, you know, and we need to realize that as boxing fans. In addition to that, though, the reason why I'm picking Brian Norman to win also is not just because he's undefeated, not because he's a champion, but also because, like I said, Jin Sasaki, he is pretty vulnerable on the defensive side, you know, and you could get him out of his game a little bit. Case in point, Andy Hiroka beat him, which is it's his only blemish on his record against Andy Hiroka, and there's no shame losing to Andy Hiroka, but he lost to Andy Hiroka, who's a smaller guy at a smaller weight, you know, and Andy Hiroka stopped him. So if Andy Hiroka could stop him, I'm pretty much comfortable proclaiming that Brian Norman will probably do the same. Yeah. So yeah, man, with that being said, we got Brian Norman Jr. defending his WBO title against Jin Sasaki on June 19th in Tokyo. Now, it's not finalized, but that is what we're looking for. They have the venue ascertained. They even specified the date, so you know that it's really coming close to being a done deal, and that's great, man. A fight against two high caliber fighters. One's a champion and one's a contender. You can't really ask for more than that, man. So y'all let me know who y'all got. As for me, you know where I'm going. I don't care if you're Jin Sasaki, you're Boxer Rocky, or you're a disc jockey. Norman in 5. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going with. But I think it's going to be a good fight while it lasts, man. Yep. So don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.